Okay, well, welcome, Danielle. And to anyone who isn't familiar with my Substack, my name is Amy Hoggart. I'm a writer and a comedian, and I always describe myself as having the ideals of a socialist, but the risk aversion of a centrist. So each week on my Substack, which is called What's Left, I interview someone on the left about what they believe in and why, and I just learn from them, and hopefully everyone else does too. So this week, I'm joined by Danielle Moody, and you probably already know her because she's prolific on Substack and YouTube, and I guess, can I say the internet in general?
Maybe.
That's how it feels. Though I am in a little political bubble, but that's what it looks like from my end.
Fair.
So Danielle has her own Substack called DAM, and that's just your initials, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll link to and everything. And you're also the co-host of Democracy-ish and As the World Churns, which are your podcasts, and then you have the Danielle Moody Show on YouTube.
Yeah.
And would you describe yourself as a political commentator?
I would. I would say political commentator, political analyst. Yeah.
Analyst, brilliant. Okay. So the first question I always ask everyone is this. And it's, if you have a criticism of the question, criticize away. I've heard it all. But if you love it, compliment away, you know. So if there was a version of the political spectrum where 0 was the center, obviously, -100 means you're a full fascist, and then +100 puts you as far left as is possible to go. You're like a Trotskyist or something. Where would you put yourself?
That's a really good scale.
Compliment.
I honestly, I think that I would say that I am very far left, if in the fact that far left would categorize me as a humanist, as someone that believes that, all humans, regardless of their gender, their race, their ethnicity, religion, ability, should have the right to self-determination, the ability to live free without oppression and without oppressive forces. And it should not, to me, be considered a radical thought. But that is, in fact, in the world that we live in, wildly radical.
Yeah, that's true. You've just described basic equality, but that is interpreted as a radical position now. Would you call for like a revolution?
Yes, I have been, I would say this, that I entered into, for the second time, media, podcasting, radio shows, and what have you, in 2016 because of Donald Trump's first administration. I naively, Amy, believed that not enough people were conscious and aware of the dangers that a figure like Donald Trump posed, and that they believed that he was just like any other Republican or any other politician that lies, that is braggadocious, et cetera, et cetera. But I felt in the core of my being that this person was an existential threat to democracy back in 2015 when he came down the escalator in the U.S. And so for me, he is and the idea of how casual the media's response was to his fascistic desires and passions, how just, they were just okay with it. They seemed to be, it seemed to have no stirring for them whatsoever. And so for me, it's like that was the beginning of every alarm bell should have been going off. Every hair on our bodies should have stood on end. And at that moment, it should have been a hard no. And so for me, I naively believed that the more that people knew about Donald Trump, the more that they would make decisions on how to actually show up in response, in revolution to that idea. But I was proven wrong when more people voted for him in 2024 than did in 2016 and did in 2020.
So I remember the descending the stairs moment, and I was working on a liberal late night show called Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, and by the election. It was a year later, I guess, the show started. And no, people still didn't really take him seriously. Like, I felt like I was really tuned into American politics and I was reading the news all the time, and we still thought of him as a joke candidate. And he was being covered like that. And he was on TV a lot. He was on Jimmy Kimmel famously and SNL. And I'm just wondering how you knew as he came down the escalator and he was about to say the bad stuff. Like, obviously he'd done the Central Park 5 horrific stuff and all he's racist forever. But how did you know that he was a full-blown fascist already? And how did you know that it was going to be this bad?
Because he seemed from the beginning to almost mock American democracy and to mock the values that we had held in this country. Now, America is a wildly imperfect place. You know, you and I both know that. But it was this idea that with each generation, we had the responsibility to perfect this very imperfect union. And when Donald Trump would speak disparagingly about women, speak disparagingly about Black people, about people of color, people with disabilities. When he spoke famously about John McCain and, I like people that weren't captured.
Right,
Meanwhile, you dodged the draft, right?
Mm.
Like, meanwhile, you're talking about people and their IQs. And the only reason why you got into college is because your daddy paid for you to get in. Because if you had to do anything on your own merit, we know where that would land. Like, you listen to Donald Trump, and what I'm always aggravated by with the media is that if you want to remain in this false place of neutrality, all you would have to do is actually run Donald Trump's transcripts unedited and let the people decide for themselves. Because if you did that, if you just said, here's Donald Trump's most recent event on the economy, here's Donald Trump on immigration, and just put up the transcripts, what do you think that the American people would have thought of him all this time? Instead, the media spent, a decade sanewashing his insanity. And so, for me, I'm just like, we have been put in this place where this man has so overtly stated his values and his disgust with American democracy. And it has only ramped up over the last 10 years. It's been 10 years of Donald Trump, right? 10 years. And you would think that our media would have a foothold into how to handle this man. And yet they have become more cowardly in their approach. And so we're at this point where he is openly saying, so if we were to go to war, he says in the meeting with Zelensky in the Oval Office, so you got to cancel your elections because you were at war?
Right.
So he says, if we were at war in 3.5 years from now, doing the calculation in his tiny little head, then, I could suspend elections? That would be great, was his response. You think that the media would jump on that and say Donald Trump, on top of asking for Republicans to find 100 seats, to have some type of astronomical supermajority in the House so that Republicans never give up power for like a millennia, that would warrant alarms. But instead, it's just like, Democrats are divided is the latest title that you'll see.
Do you feel anger towards traditional media at this point and historically?
Yeah. I mean, for anyone who's followed me has known that I kicked off my career in media as an advocate and an activist for LGBTQ equality. I was one of the national spokespeople for marriage equality a decade ago. And so before marriage became the law in 2015, that's how I cut my teeth on MSNBC, PBS, and other places. And I believe that there were two things that shifted people's hearts and minds, that it was politics and policy, right? And the media. But being inside of that beast for even the small amount of time that I was inside of corporate media, I've realized that they are complicit, right? That the same people that are supposedly have the awesome responsibility to be the fourth estate, to hold power accountable, are more endeared to power and wanting to be in the room than
Right.
actually ask the hard questions. So yeah, I have a lot of anger towards media being complicit and an accomplice to the rise of fascism in this country.
And so I'm quite naive, and when things happen, like the Washington Post don't get behind, I can't remember the phrase, but they didn't go behind Kamala, and then all the big corporations started backing down, and there was this huge shift in the media. Did you see that coming? Because from my perspective, it was like, oh my God, it's creeping towards fascism. But were you like, yeah, I've been expecting this the whole time?
Yes, I've been expecting it the entire time. You could see as the CEOs, these heads of networks, were not going toe to toe with Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That they instead, as people were leaving his first administration, right, as people were either being fired or they were resigning, they had a full revolving door to go from the White House onto CNN, for instance, right?
Mhm.
And then CNN be their rehab to rehab all of the lies that they were telling the American people in their roles in the regime, but they were the ones that were being courted with six-figure contributor deals, right? And you're just saying to yourself, how is it that people who have been speaking truth to power, like myself, like Ellie Mistal, like Kurt Bardella, like Wajahat Ali, and so many others that had been speaking truth to power for so long weren't given those same opportunities? But as soon as you came from the Trump administration and wanted to, whitewash your dirty dealings on being a part of the collapse of our democracy, mainstream media, corporatized media, was opening the door to those people. And so, it became really clear to me that, like, again, they weren't interested in holding power accountable. They're the only industry that is named in the Constitution of the United States, that the crux of having a democracy is having a free press. And the press gave up that responsibility to get in the room.
I didn't know that about the Constitution. I'm laughing. I'm laughing with horror. I hope everyone knows that. But that's crazy. Yeah. Can I ask you though, when I hear you, and I do consume a lot of your content and I love it. And one of the things I love is your passion, because sometimes when I'm listening to political content, it's quite dour and it's quite downbeat and everyone's like, oh God, everything's awful. But you come in and it's so passionate and so it feels like it's suitably big, because it is so horrifying. But I wonder, how is it for you? Because if I come at it with naivety and I don't see it coming, then I've got all that comfort before the bad thing happens. Whereas you've been worrying about it and seeing it coming. What, like, is that hard for you? How?
Yes.
Okay.
And I like yes.
Yeah.
It deeply weighs on my spirit. It weighs on I've had to really find ways to emotionally, physically, and spiritually take care of myself, because what started out as, like, my undergraduate degree is in politics, right? Like, I went to school for this, like,
Yeah.
because of the deep desire I had to want to be a part of government and a
Mhm.
part of the way that you have this entity that can make the lives of the American people better, right?
Yeah.
And I deeply wanted to be a part of that. It has turned into a utter cesspool. And so, like, my passion, some people think, unless, like, you really start to, like, see my content or have the ability to know me personally, think that, like, this is an act. And I'm like, no. When I say that I'm heartbroken, I mean that I am heartbroken by where America is right now, because I have given my life and my career, right, to wanting to better this country, whether it be, working on Capitol Hill, working as a lobbyist for nonprofit organizations, from environmental justice to think tanks, to et cetera. Like, everything has
That's the stuff
always,
you've done, right?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
all things that I've done. Whether it's being a teacher in the classroom and teaching young children, has always been about wanting to make this country and its citizens better. And so to actually experience the crumbling of this country, it is a personal attack, right? It is a personal attack for those of us who are children of immigrants who came to this country. Our parents came here, grandparents came here to make a better life for us. And we have given back in so many ways, only to literally be not slapped in the face, but be clobbered, right, by this administration, by this political party that sees no value in our existence. Right. So like, for me, the passion is it's real, but it also is wearing. Right. Like it also does wear heavy on my spirit on a regular basis. And so I have to figure out the ways in which I take care of myself while also being able to deliver what I think is important information for the public.
Because I saw you said that you were in Europe and right? And I
Yeah.
was, oh, cool, a holiday. You're like, I'm working.
I mean, it was a holiday in the fact that like I wasn't in this country working, but I was,
That isn't count.
But I was working
Yeah.
nonetheless, right? Like I
Yeah.
was, posting and putting up content and doing my live shows, so I was working, but to have that distance for a few weeks was like, oh my God, like the way that my nervous system settled down, it was shocking for me. Like it was shocking the real physical difference that I felt in my body being in Europe and doing this work versus being in the States.
Wow, because I assumed that you would still be feeling exhaustion, but it's
Nope.
wow. Where were you? It's very
I was
American
in,
to say.
yeah, no, it's fine now. I only talk about where I was like when
Oh,
I
right.
returned. But yeah, I was in London for a couple of days, which I loved. And then I was in Italy, and then I was in France. I was in Paris for like almost 2 weeks.
I really relate to that because obviously that sounds like a fabulous trip, by the way. I should have said off the back. That's like most people's dreams. But I lived in the US throughout Trump's first presidency and then moved back to the UK for the second. And even though I do think this presidency is markedly worse for America, I am finding it easier. And I think you're right. I think it's the distance. Because also you're not there's not American news all the time and people aren't talking about it all the time.
Right.
You have to actually seek the information, which obviously you and I would do, but it's intentional, I guess. So I want to hear about, you've mentioned your work before, but where did this interest in politics come from? Like, is that something that your family talked about when you were growing up? What's your political origin story, I guess?
Yeah. So for me, I guess the origin story would be in high school, where I've always been like, out of all of the subjects, history, and then politics became just like super interesting to me. The way that societies are set up, the hierarchy of them, like the institutions that are created to make people's lives better or worse, has always been something that is of interest. And when I was in high school, I had a really amazing government and politics teacher in 11th, I think it was 11th grade or 12th grade. And it was like AP government and politics. And I believe, and the joke was when I was in high school, that the teacher was a communist, but she would never tell us what her politics were. Like we were always so really interested, but it was kind of like the way that she would talk about American democracy, and we would do comparative government, and we were looking at the way that Parliament was set up in the UK versus the United States, and like the representation model and what have you. But the way that she talked about politics, and she talked about lobbyists that go in to like pressure officials, and like, and there are some lobbyists that are good, and then there are some that are like terrible, that lobby for, horrible things, right? Yeah. And I just was fascinated. I was fascinated with the debate of it. She really encouraged like really healthy debate on issues. We would pick issues each week. And then, the two students, one on, one side of the issue and then the other would sit in the middle of the classroom. She would have us sit and then everyone else sit in a circle around and we would debate as if we were on the floor, right? And I always thought that she taught this class because she was also an undergraduate professor. She taught this high school class like it was a college class. And so there was a lot of critical thinking, a lot of analytical theories, and I just was so excited by it. And it was that class that would decide my major. And most, young people, like they'll change majors, multiple times before they graduate. I never did. And I never lost like my passion for politics, but it was cemented when I was in high school.
That teacher's such a hero.
Oh, yeah. And her name was Mrs. McCarthy. And I just like,
that's kind of ironic if she's a little secret communist.
Right? But she was like this little spit of like a white woman, like super short, like tiny, and but was like fierce. She was just like had this fierce, very big like presence. And I remember because I got a C in her class and I was just like, I don't understand. I'm like, I'm working harder in your class than I am anywhere else. And she looked at me one day and she was just like, Danielle, a C in my class is an A in anyone else's. So you should be happy. And I was like, okay.
Like, you want the A though for your like the report system or whatever.
Right. Exactly. I'm like, I don't want your friggin' C. Like I need a higher grade here.
Yeah. And where did you grow up?
I grew up on Long Island, New York.
Yeah. It's so inspiring when there's a teacher who got someone like had such a massive impact on someone's life. If you were on a soapbox today with a loudspeaker, what would be the one issue that you would shout about?
It's the one issue that I posted about today and I post about all the time, is the fact that we are not voting our way out of fascism. And while like we can pretend because it makes us feel better that we are going to have the opportunity to have midterm elections and that Democrats are going to retake the House and retake the Senate because everyone is being affected by Trump's disastrous policies and what have you. But I think that what we really need to come to grips with as a country is that that is not happening and that Donald Trump and the Republicans are going to make sure that there will be the presence of an election, but the free and fair election, I think, was the last one was in 2020 because I'm not entirely sold on the fact that Donald Trump won fair and square in 2024 either.
Right,
I think that Democrats just refused to fight back because they wanted to give the appearance of being the adult in the room and that the process still worked. That's just look, I'm not a tin hat conspiracy theorist, but that is definitely...
You're putting an idea out there for us.
I'm putting an idea out there because no president has ever won every battleground state. And you're telling me that Donald Trump did in 2024? I don't think so. So that being said, the message that I would be stating and clearly defining on a soapbox would be that of a national strike. We need a national strike to shut this country down. We don't need to use old methods of marching and protest because Donald Trump is itching for a face-to-face battle with citizens. That is why he is going city by city and militarizing them one right after the other. It's because he is itching for confrontation. He is doing everything that he can to stoke confrontation so that he then has the authority to issue martial law. That's what he wants. And so we cannot give that to him. But what we can do is that we can withhold our labor. You see, oligarchs can't thrive without the working class.
Yeah.
And we are all the working class because we've been fed this lie that there is some distinction between the working poor, the middle class, and et cetera. And when essentially we're all one paycheck away from being poor, right? Like we have more in common with those that are quote unquote at the bottom of the economic ladder than we do with those at the top. But the fact is that if we were to withhold our labor collectively, and I'm not talking about a day, I'm not talking about weeks, I'm talking about months, okay? I'm talking about months on end to shut this fucking country down in the way that the civil rights activists shut down the Montgomery bus company. I'm talking about that level of consistency. I'm talking about that level of persistence and fortitude. I'm talking about collective care for those that may have more, that can support those that have less, that those that will lose paychecks, right, that don't have savings, that we're thinking about those people as well, but that we need to band together in this moment and say enough is enough. And that if Donald Trump doesn't roll back these tanks, doesn't roll back his authority, like you're not getting another bit of sweat, another bit of labor, another dime from us. Because I also believe that we should collectively withhold our taxes, because I don't know what the fuck I'm paying into this system for. Because you're not paying into it for public education, which he's gutted. You're not paying into it for the environmental protections, which he's gutted. You're not paying into it for infrastructure, which he's gutted. You're writing a check to Donald Trump, right? And to his family. So I think that Americans need to have collective action, and that collective action looks like a national strike that we've never seen before. And that's what it's going to take, I believe, because what are you going to do? Send the tanks to get us out of our homes? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to stay home. Right? To do the bare minimum, get the groceries that you need, like, you know, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, shut it down.
So are you saying that that's what needs to happen? Or are you saying that that's what needs to happen and it could happen? Because I'm like, not to be cheesy, but I have goosebumps imagining that happening and I would want to be there for it. But could it happen, like, culturally? That's some French shit right there. I don't know if I can swear on something like that, but that's...
Yes, you can swear. I do it all the time.
That's like some inspiring French shit rather than American. Although both my unions went on strike a few years ago and we all lost a lot of work, but it was community-wise, it was amazing and everyone was taken care of. Like, I think humanity would thrive in it during it. But I guess I'm asking you in a really long-winded way. Can you see that happening?
Yes, I can.
Wow.
I think that Americans are getting to the point where they are going to recognize, and I think that this may occur in a lead up to the midterm elections next year, is that people are still holding out hope that like we can do this through an electoral process. But once that ceases to happen, then they will realize that there is absolutely no recourse. And the unfortunate thing is that it's going to take a considerable amount of loss, because by the time that midterms come around in November of 2026, Donald Trump's cuts will have completely kicked in. The cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to SNAP, right?
Yeah.
The benefits to the top 1%. All of that will be happening at the same time. People being kicked off of their health care, right? And so once Americans recognize that what they have enjoyed is actually now been stolen from them, I believe that they will finally get to the place where they recognize that the only way out of this is to shut this country down.
I would love to say it's so much organization, but if everybody's doing it, it could happen. I guess I interviewed a Clinton strategist actually called Sidney Blumenthal, and he was like much more foot off the gas. He comes from a different, political ideology, as you can imagine. But he was saying, no, the midterms are going to happen and we will win the House, and look, just there'll be so many seats lost because of what he's doing, and we can kind of just watch and with interest, with popcorn. And do you think that would happen anyway? Or do you think we just also need to do a strike and that's just not enough?
I think that establishment Democrats are living in a fantasy world.
Okay.
I
This is what
think
I'd
that
love to.
he, yeah, I think that he is living in a fantasy world.
This
Donald
world is
Trump
so
has,
reassuring that
he
makes
has
it wrong. Yeah.
tanks in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
They have checkpoints. I lived in Washington, D.C. for nearly 20 years.
Yeah.
We are at a historic low in terms of crime. Donald Trump has checkpoints having people open up their bags and literally give up their civil liberties because he has decided that he is going to be the authoritarian to rule with an iron fist. He is going to do this in Chicago. He has already done it in LA. He is going to Philadelphia, Atlanta, New York City, right? And
Mhm.
you're telling me that you think that he's going to sit back as he is telling Republicans to get him 100 seats, that
Mhm.
he is going to sit back and just let the people decide? Are you mad? I think that these
Yeah.
people who sit up on high with their establishment politics and their little notebooks, I think that they've lost their mind because I don't think that they understand the calculus here. Because if they did, they'd be moving and speaking with a lot more urgency than the bullshit that they're coming out with now.
So, what would be your message to the Dems right now?
My message to the Dems is to get rid of your dead weight. Get rid of Chuck Schumer. Get rid of Hakeem Jeffries.
Then
Get rid of
most of them are
Get
ill, literally.
Yeah, get
Yeah.
rid of Nancy Pelosi. Get rid of every single one of these centrists, right, that you have given the mantle to, and
Mhm.
actually give the mantle to the people that have plans and have purpose and have the attention of the public. Give it to the Jasmine Crockett's. Give it to the AOCs, to the Bernie Sanders, to the Elizabeth Warrens. This is not me being ageist, right? It is old thinking that the Democratic Party
Yeah.
needs to rid itself of and actually put its weight behind the people like the Zoran Mondanis that
Mhm.
have captivated the public in such a way that they have not been able to do. That instead of following a Zoran Mondani, they're deciding that, oh, we should do a focus group on how we get young men activated. And I'm like, really? Because you have a young man in front of you that is showing you the way, and you've decided that you don't like him because he's a socialist, because you take all your money from corporations, but you want the people to trust you?
Do you have hope? Because, yeah, do you have hope? That's my question.
Amy, I wouldn't continue to do what I do on a day in and day out basis if I didn't have hope. Like, in all honesty, like, I think that I joke all the time on my shows and I say that I carry around a mustard seed of hope, right? But a mustard
Mm.
seed is all you actually need, right? Like,
That's,
and because uh, buried and watered and nurtured can turn into something powerful, right? And so all we need is a mustard seed of hope. But I wouldn't keep speaking the way that I speak. I wouldn't keep doing what I was doing if I didn't believe in people's ability to change, in people's ability to be radicalized. And I mean that in the fullest extent of the word. Because if what is happening right now in this country is not radicalizing you in terms of your thinking and your living and what it is that people tell you that you should have settled for versus what it is that you want, I don't know what will. But now is the time, right, for people to recognize that the only thing that ever shifts this country is a small group of people having enough hope to believe in people's ability to change.
and are there any Democratic? You mentioned some people that you love, but is there anyone doing the work right now?
I think that Zoran Mamdani is doing the work here in New York City. Just over the weekend, he held a scavenger hunt that brought thousands of New Yorkers together, and had them discovering their city in a different way and
Mm.
meeting their neighbors in a different way. Like, it brought so much joy. Like, you think, a scavenger hunt. Like, what does that have to do with politics? It has everything to do with community building. And
Mhm.
community building has everything to do with politics,
Right. Yeah.
right? So you watch and you see how this young leader is captivating not only, internet attention, but like real life attention and awakening young people and all people in New York City to their power and their purpose of what they want to see in this city and in this country in a joyful, brilliant way. Like that is the way. Do you know?
Yeah.
So for me, people like him, people that speak truth to power, like Jasmine Crockett, people like the Representative Nicole Collier out of Texas, who was locked into the House chamber in Texas because she refused to sign a permission slip that Republicans had given Democrats that would allow for the police to follow them around so that they would not leave the state so that they could pass their gerrymandering racist bill, right? She slept in that chamber because they were holding her captive. And she spoke out. And like, again, it's that kind of fire. It's that kind of persistence. It's that kind of dedication. And there are people that are currently in represented positions that are doing that work, but they continue to be tampered by those that refuse to give up power, the centrists and the establishment that refuse to give up power, and their time is up.
What do you, because the centrist response, I think you can tell that my politics is aligned with yours, but I do talk to people across the left side. The centrist response would be that they narrowly missed like, if they galvanized and got more people out, they would have won. And that, I think the line that I hear from them more often is, we just missed. So like, why reinvent the wheel? What would your answer to that be?
I mean, fascism is not new, right? Revolution is also not new. But the fact is that you still missed, right? So like, you don't like, if you look at this from a sports angle, the reason why, let's say, women's basketball teams, the WNBA, the reason why they sit and they watch film, they watch old tapes back, is to see what went wrong. They don't say to themselves, well, we only lost by 2 points, or we only lost by 1 point, so there's nothing that we need to iterate from here. No, it's like, we watch the film back and we see where did we give up points? Where did we give up inches? Where did we give up rebounds, right? Like, what did we do here? And then you move from that place, because champions know what went wrong, and then they keep iterating so that they get it right. You don't just keep the same playbook and say, well, we didn't lose by that much, so let's keep doing the same fucking thing. No, that's insanity.
That's easier as well. There's such a like complacency coming out of DC at the moment from where I'm sitting. And what you're describing involves a huge amount of work and a huge amount of energy that I think maybe some people just don't, and maybe it's the age thing, they just don't have in them.
No, I think that people have energy.
I think that establishment.
The Democrats. Yeah. I don't think that the Democrats have energy. I think that the people have energy.
Yes.
I think that we are seeing with these 5501 and indivisible marches that have been happening, where there are these, robust gatherings, millions of people, thousands of people are coming out. And again, I said marches are not enough at this moment, given what Donald Trump is trying to create and manufacture a confrontation around. But they do help build community. They do help you realize that you're not alone, right? In your thinking and in your fear and your anxiety. And you can build power in that way. But we can't alone like rely on that. But the Democrats, that's why people are fleeing from the party and switching over to be independent, because they want fighters. And that's not who the Democratic Party is showing itself to be. They're refusing to fight for the people. And the people are begging for a fighter.
So who would you like to be that fighter? Is there anyone that you're watching now?
I mean, look, I think that there are a collection of people that are doing the work right now. I think that Gavin Newsom is doing a great job of trolling right now and putting that trolling into strategy. But I also know
him.
Yeah, but I also know that at the beginning of the year, Gavin Newsom decided to platform Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk, right? And I was just like, so if you have 2028 desires, like, you're not going to get my fucking vote, not after you decided to platform a racist, right? So, I don't want people that want to like move with the wind. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I actually want people that sit in and are dedicated to what it is that they're saying, that not because like, oh, today it's it matters, right? Like, oh, today you're getting steam and today you're doing, like, I actually want people who are not going to be moved with the wind. And Gavin Newsom has shown himself to be somebody that is moved with the wind.
Well, because the worry, I guess, is that like the wind will change when he's in government and then he's going to swing further right or whatever. Yeah.
Right. So it's just like, I say that for this moment right now, he is making the right moves, right? He is combating Donald Trump, using his words and doing what needs to be done, right? And saying what needs to be said and backing it up with his own gerrymandering plan. That to me makes sense, right? But I also don't trust Gavin Newsom to can be consistent in his values, because he has shown himself, right, to be able to be. I need somebody that is rooted, right? I need somebody that is grounded in their principles, whether or not it is popular that day, right? And so I think that what we need to put our faith and our power behind is us as a collective, is the people right now, and not a person. Because you see, when you put your hope and dreams on a person, you will be disappointed. But if you put your hopes and dreams on a movement, on yourself, on your community, the likelihood of success is much, much higher.
That's such a good way of putting it. And also, it's a silly question. I do regularly ask it, but because it is just a way off. Like, we didn't even know Obama at this point in the cycle before he was elected. Like, he came out of nowhere, seemingly. What were your feelings when Harris replaced Biden?
So I had a lot of feelings. I had had a lot of feelings. One, I did not like the way that Joe Biden was treated by the establishment. I did not like the way that they tossed this man, who dedicated his entire life to this country, 40 years, right? There is no better public servant than Joe Biden, with his dedication to this country. However, I'll give a long-winded answer to your question, because Joe Biden made missteps. Joe Biden told us that he was going to be a what? A transitional president.
Yeah.
Meaning that he was going to use the 4 years that the American people entrusted to him in a time of deep trauma, right? Of the global health pandemic, of the racial uprising, that he was going to use that time to not only, right, strengthen our Constitution and strengthen, right, our legal system to ensure that a Donald Trump and a Donald Trump-like figure could never happen again, but that he was also going to pave the way for the next group of leaders.
Yeah.
Joe Biden did not do that.
No. Yeah.
He had an opportunity to actually set Kamala Harris up for success. He gave her the worst issue to fucking work on. He gave her immigration, which no one can win on, right? Like, no one that's not willing to do something wildly radical can win on. He didn't give her something that would allow this Black woman, this Asian woman, to be able to show the American people that are misogynist, that are racist, that she was the leader, the next leader for this moment, for the moment to move America forward. He did not set her up for success. And that is honestly where Democrats in general fail, is that they don't create the scaffolding and they don't create the pipeline for leadership because they're too busy holding on to power with their fucking 80, 90-year-old grip, right? So at the end of the day, for me, what was disappointing with regard to Harris is that she made two fatal missteps. One, she did not embrace progressives. Instead, she held hands with Liz Cheney, right?
Yeah.
Instead of using her 107 days, because remember, she only had 107 days
Yeah.
to convince this racist and misogynistic country that she could lead it,
Yeah.
right? So that she did not then decide that I am going to trust my gut and I'm going to trust what the people are saying that they want. Instead, she trusted the consultants and she wanted to show this like kumbaya bullshit with Liz Cheney, who, by the way, the only good thing that Liz Cheney did was the January 6th committee. If you look at Liz
Oh, yeah.
Cheney's
Okay, yeah.
record,
Yeah,
she
she's
voted with
such a
Donald
character.
Trump
Yeah.
over 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So you're not going to convince me that if you're good on one issue, that all of a sudden I need to link arms with you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so we can all agree on the Constitution. Was that the fucking limbo bar? Like, so she went full on embrace of Republicans. There were more Republicans on the stage at convention, which I was there for, than there were progressives on the stage at convention.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I guess my focus during the DNC was I felt like they were already really mishandling Gaza. And
I mean, so that was number one.
yeah.
Number two was Gaza.
Right.
Number two was that she refused to give herself any distance between Biden's policies because as his vice president, she still had to uphold his policies, but she didn't offer up anything that she would do differently.
Mm-mm.
She just kept saying over and over again, Israel has the right to defend itself. And I'm just like, they're committing genocide, right? Like Netanyahu is a fucking lunatic. I think that we can all agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That the things that are coming out of his Knesset members is wildly unhinged,
Yeah.
right? And that you with fresh eyes could have said, unlike Joe Biden, who has spent the last 40 years inside of government and has formed his opinion, both domestically and with foreign affairs, that I myself am going to come to this issue with fresh eyes, with fresh perspective, because that's what's needed in this moment. You see how you can say that without really saying shit, but it offers like this idea that something could be different?
Yeah.
That's what people needed.
I felt like a lot of us would have just taken anything, even if she just said one thing. There was no Palestinian representation on stage at all. There was no, and a lot of us looking for something, and we were given nothing. Well, I say we, people who were concerned about the genocide already, and of course a lot of Arab Americans who didn't vote for her and a lot of the commentary that I was hearing was people were saying, just give us something that we can use to feel like you have our backs.
Exactly. And it was just like, so that to me, those were the two missteps that happened in her 107 days, right? So imagine where we would have been if Joe Biden, from the jump, from the day that he was sworn in, and remind you, where was the country when he was sworn in? Reeling from the fact that we just had a fucking insurrection.
Right, yeah.
Reeling from the fact that January 6th happened, but like 2 weeks before he was sworn in.
Yeah.
Like, you needed to use that as a moment and continue to beat the drum of what it is America is not. And I am here to stabilize this destabilized country, right, that has happened under Trumpism, and to ensure that, one, he is held accountable and responsible and I'm going to make it my mission to do so that we never have this happen ever again. And then also create the pipeline for the next generation of leadership, because I'm here for 4 solid years to set America straight and then hand off the baton. Imagine where we would have been if we had had that done.
There was just nothing. He just totally got away with January 6th. He
got away
like it
with
never
everything.
Happened.
He got away with everything, right? Like the decision to have Merrick Garland as your attorney general, which is like literally having like a flaccid noodle, would have been better as your as an attorney general than Merrick Garland. You should have gone after Donald, because I say this, Amy, and I know that I'm going on.
No, I love it.
But the fact is, if you really want to ask real questions, if America had held the Confederates responsible for the Civil War, if they had been held responsible and never allowed to hold power again, if instead of America paying former slaveholders for their loss of income, and you actually set up the formerly enslaved and brutalized for success in this country, and you punished those Confederates for seceding from the country and for causing the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, and you didn't erect fucking monuments and name highways and schools for these treasonous bastards, we also wouldn't be here. So Joe Biden, right, with the weight of history on his back, had an opportunity to look at Donald Trump as a neo-Confederate and say, we're not going to make the same mistake twice. We're actually going to ensure that this man is punished to the fullest extent of the law. I don't give a fuck what title he had, because what he did do is take the power that the American people granted him, and he abused it. And we will ensure that he is held responsible, accountable, and punished for his abuses.
Such a good way of putting it. I've never heard that parallel before, but that's it's almost like that they're so worried about offending these powerful, evil people, and they want to keep them close rather than actually punishing them and then figuring it out.
Yeah, it's like you can't, like, the thing that we always want to jump to as Americans, and it's the reason why Donald Trump is working at this accelerated pace to erase Black history, which I want to also be very clear that the history that he's trying to erase is white depravity, right? Is the depravity in which white people, white Americans showed towards formerly enslaved Black people and enslaved people. That's the shit that Donald Trump is trying to erase. He's also trying to erase Black exceptionalism, which is actually what Black history is. And so the fact of the matter is that what America has always wanted to do is to jump from the place of harm to healing without any restitution.
Yeah, that's another great way.
You know?
Yeah.
So you can't jump from the place of harm to healing without actually sitting down and recognizing and unpacking and holding those responsible for who caused the harm. And then making it a part of the fabric of our society, our history, not only our past, but our present, to again ensure that these types of trauma or abuses are never allowed to be inflicted again. But instead, America wanted to jump from slavery to Jim Crow to Martin Luther King to fucking Kumbaya and Barack Obama.
Sorry.
When you think about it like that, it's fucking madness.
Yeah. It's such a good point. And I guess, like, with these quick terms, and it's a function of democracy, but it's so quick. Everyone just wants to move on, but we haven't caught up, and we're still African Americans are obviously dealing with the legacy of slavery, but it's still everywhere in America. Every building,
everywhere.
the train, literally, this country is the legacy of slavery, and you can't just crack on with it. I'm really conscious of your time, Danielle, and I've got. Do you have time for a few quick questions that I always?
I have time for a few more quick questions.
I promise.
I've loved this conversation, Amy, so much. Honestly,
I'm so glad.
Loved it so much.
I've learned so much, and I hope everyone watching it. Well, I know everyone watching will have done. So thank you. So what's some action that people watching this can do, or reading it later?
I think that action items are really important. One, what I want people to do, a couple of things I think that people can do, which is at a time when there is a push for anti-intellectualism, I need people to become studied. I need people to become scholared, right? So I need you to read the writings of James Baldwin, of W.E.B. Du Bois, of Audre Lorde, of Octavia Butler, who is behind me, of Toni Morrison. I need you to really understand, like, who and what America is. I need you to go to the lists and create a syllabus of yourself. I just saw the most tragic statistic this week that said only 16% of Americans now read for enjoyment. 16%. And if that doesn't explain a whole fucking lot about where we are as a country, I need people that are watching this right now to pick 5 books from the banned book list. Pick 2 books of pick 2 books of fiction. Pick 3 nonfiction books. Right? Get yourself 2 other friends and start a banned book reading group with each other. Weekly, meet, discuss where you are, what you are learning. That is the bare minimum. Right? That is the bare minimum. So that's one action that people can do. The second action, right, is that I need for folks to join some type of organized group, whether that be a labor union, whether that be to become a member of Planned Parenthood, NAACP, or smaller local organizations that are working on environment, LGBTQ plus issues, social justice, voting rights, whether it's becoming a poll worker. Right? I need you to take some type of civic action. Right? Some type of civic action. What is your response? That could be joining a food co-op, right? Your local food co-op, and doing that. I need you to take some type of community action. And the third piece is that you need to support independent media, right? Which is the people that are here. The people that are here, there are 233 people that are watching right now. Like this, right? Subscribe to Amy's page, subscribe to my page, right? Share the content that you are reading. If you have the ability to become a paid subscriber, then by all means become a paid subscriber. If you don't, that's fine, because my content always will remain from a paywall, right? Because I don't believe in paywalls. Because I believe that that's how education, democracy, all of those things die. But to me, those are actions. Those are concrete actions that everyone could take today. That does not feel so overwhelming. The problem is big, but the solutions are one step at a time, one action at a time.
Sorry, I interrupted you. But they really add up as well. Like, if everyone is doing these concrete actions en masse, that's a huge amount of action.
Correct. Right? Yeah. Correct. And so if we all just say to ourselves, what can I do today?
Yeah.
Right? If that's read a few pages of a book, right? share that with my group, share that with the people that follow you on your platforms, right? Like we need to become intellectually curious.
Yeah.
We need to bring back the rigor and the excitement of actually learning at a time when people are trying to dumb everything down and to erase our histories, right? Like that is when education becomes a tool and a weapon of resistance. And I want people to do that.
That's so brilliant as well. If our resistance means we just get smarter as they're trying to dumb us down. It's such a great point. Thank you, because that's such a brilliant. There's like real homework that I think people get on with.
Yeah, 100%.
I have a couple of really silly questions, and I need to add the disclaimer that you don't have to answer them because one is. And yeah, so okay, so the first one is this: I'm trying to get the left to take the piss of itself more. Can you make up a marginalized group that you belong to?
Make up a marginalized group that I belong to.
Like one said it was being left-handed, you know?
Yeah, plant obsessive people of America.
Oh wow!
I am plant obsessive.
Yeah.
I have roughly right now close to 40 something plants.
Whoa!
Inside and outside.
40.
Yeah, I may have more.
And how are plant obsessives oppressed? And bear in mind,
because we're not allowed to grow things everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that land there are all of these made up boundaries. And I believe that the more plants, the better.
Yeah, you have to be hemmed in by the constraints of property.
Exactly.
Right. That's a great one.
Exactly. Yeah. Plant obsessive people unite. That's my
justice for plant obsessives.
Justice for plant obsessive people.
Do you have any secret conservative beliefs?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
I had a feeling you'd say that, but you'd be surprised by what people come up with, what do
people come up with?
There's usually nuance. So they'll say gun laws, actually. I hunt for food. And the other guy was like, sometimes you need like people of color to have and like to be armed because sometimes they're the ones most likely to be attacked. So stuff like that. It's never like someone goes, I hate women or something. It's usually there's gray area.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This is the last question, and this is super cheeky. Have you ever, to your knowledge, dated or slept with a conservative?
Absolutely fucking not.
Wow.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, it's so funny to me because right now there's like controversy, or at least there was controversy for, I don't know if you were following it, but actress and advocate oh my God, now I'm blank. Laverne Cox, right? Laverne Cox.
Yeah.
Came out and had said that, she dated a blue-eyed, blonde-haired MAGA supporter and a cop, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh my God, Google it, because it was bananas. Here she is, this Black trans woman that has, used her presence and her platform to advance issues of equity and justice, sometimes, imperfectly, right? But nonetheless, like, has used her life as like, this possibility model. Then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks ago, she fucking announces, I guess on her podcast, that she has dated for 3 years.
Wait, so this is current?
This is current. For 3 years. They're broken up now, but for 3 years had dated this conservative. And I'm like, how in this climate? Like in this world, like this is not even like Obama era conservatives. Like this is like MAGA
This is fascist era.
This is fascistic.
Yeah.
Like, how in God's name do you one, do you do it, but then decide to come out publicly about it? Was like wild. And she was shocked by the backlash that she was receiving. And I'm just like, these people want to kill us. They literally want us dead. So how in God's name would you bring that person into your bed? I have no idea.
That I need to read about it. I can't comment on her.
No. Read about it. But I'm just like, so when you ask, like, have you to your knowledge? No, because to me, like, you ain't coming close to my bed without me knowing where your politics are. Like, trust and 100% believe. Like, you don't have to be as, like, radical left as me, but you sure as hell can't be a centrist, and you sure as fuck can't be a conservative. So that really gives that narrow space for you to occupy.
It's a huge number of people still. I mean, that's why dating apps have that little category, don't
right? But for particularly, because I'm not straight, but for straight folks, these men lie. They lie on these apps because no one wants to date a conservative.
No one wants a conservative or a moderate. I was on dating apps. That's how my partner shout out. I would swipe whatever wrong direction on any moderates because that means conservative, but you're
red flag.
Yeah, huge
red flag. How were you? And again, I know it's a funny question, but it's just like, if anyone in your life is a moderate right now, you might as well understand them to be a far right winger, because there is at a time of accelerated fascism, there is no such thing as a moderate.
Yeah.
Or moderation.
The people who've said to me that they have dated conservatives, it's usually in the past, and it would be during a different era in politics. And then I guess there's some sexual tension, and that's their business, and I don't kink shame. Now,
girl, no. Mm-mm.
You do kink shame. Okay.
I'm like, no, thank you.
I'm glad I asked, because I always get shy asking that question, but I'm a nosy bugger.
I think that that is a great question. I love that question. You need to ask that over and because I think that doing a compilation of folks being like, well, and then other ones being like, absolutely fucking not. Yeah.
Give me half an hour and iMovie and I'll send it your way. I asked an elderly lord in the UK, he was political leader in this country, and I asked him and he gave me a really long, passionate answer. People answer wherever they're from. So is there anything that you would like to add about your left-wing beliefs or the state of the left today?
I guess the only thing that I would say is, I am personally unwavering in my belief system as a humanist, which is the fact that all people, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, ability, orientation, identity, deserve the right to live free and unoppressed. Right? They deserve self-determination.
Yeah.
And as I said at the top, that should not be a radical thought. It should not be a radical idea. But that is what I believe that it means to be a humanist, is that I want all, and to be honest, all living things, all living beings to be able to thrive. We should be living in harmony, right, with the environment around us, not trying to conquer it. Because that is how we have ended up in this climate disaster that we are in, is that instead of living in harmony, right, with nature and living in community, we have come from this conquer and conquering mentality. And so for me, I want to live, I want to live my values, which I try and do for, every single day.
Yeah.
And in every single way. And I encourage people to understand, fortify what their values are, and become unwavering in that truth.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I love that you're painting a beautiful picture, but you're also asking for something just really basic. I hope we get it. Can you quickly sum up your Substack so if people aren't following you already, they immediately do so?
Oh, amazing. Amy, I got to tell you, this is one of the best conversations I've had in a really long time. Like, and I know, and for folks watching, this is Amy's first Substack live.
Yeah.
And I think that you have done brilliantly.
Oh, thank you.
So the Damn Digest is my Substack. Launched it 6 months ago, and it's a place for unapologetic news conversation on our body politic, right? Which is all encompassing of our culture and our country and the world that we're living in. I do, conversations on a weekly basis with my friend Jared Yates Sexton, who he does dispatches from a crumbling state. I do weekly conversations, as everybody knows, with Wajahat Ali from The Left Hook. And then my daily show, the Danielle Moody Show, which is on YouTube Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern, that I also stream on Substack. So I encourage people, if you believe in critical thinking, somebody that holds no punches and is very passionate and unapologetic about their offering, then subscribe. And like I said, nothing of mine goes behind a paywall. But if you do have the ability to support monetarily, then think about becoming a paid subscriber. If not, subscribe. It costs you absolutely nothing.
And it's brilliant. I love the Damn Digest, so I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
And I loved our conversation so much. I got so much out of it. And there's actually, you're very energetic conversationalist anyway, but there's an extra energy to a live chat as well, I guess, because people are saying hi a bit. So thank you so much. And my Substack's called What's Left, and every week I interview people on the left about their views and why, all the way from the liberals to the radicals. Lots of comedians and writers and political folk, like Danielle, sort of analysts, and also some political figures. And I'd love to see you guys there. And yeah, I'll upload this. And I had such a great time talking to you, Danielle. So
I had a fantastic time, Amy. Thank you so much
for
having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Great. Take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. Bye. Oh, no. Okay, I'd love to go.